Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another BTNeanderthal video. Today we're going to be covering patch 23 for BTDiablo. This is the biggest patch we have done yet, and we just put out a little 0.2 patch just to fix some bugs and add some more quality of life. I want to show you guys what we've actually done. So in this patch, the majority of things that have actually happened here are, first of all, big shout out to Gloomy with helping out with this project. This couldn't have been possible. Some of this stuff couldn't have been possible without him, for sure. He's been really helpful recently. Big shout out to him. Get a comment in there for him as well. I'd appreciate that. But jumping into it now, we have we fixed the bug with the Heroic Cube inventory being too big. I got a lot of reports of this. I believe there's some other items and things like that that do need this treatment as well, and now I know how to fix that. But it's just going to take some time and effort for me to go through everything and adjust that. But that cube is fixed at least now. So, and then what we did is probably one of my favorite changes, is we optimized town destinations for Act 2 through 5. So I'm actually just going to quickly show you what that means in a second here. And we're going to go over to Warev and Act 2. Watch this. Ready? Bam. Town location spawn, instead of being way the heck down here in Africa, now we spawn right between Lysander and Farah, and Deckard Cain's here and Stash. And then in addition to that, we also made it so the portals spawn real close to this as well. So Act 2 now is very efficient at farming, and there's so many more things to farm in Act 2 as well. So having it be nice and close like that is really nice. Now on to Act 3, and I think probably the best way to show this part is actually just traveling to Act 3. One minor change here. Watch this. Ready? We go over to Act 3. Bam. Now spawn location is in the middle here, right between Ormus and Deckard Cain and all that, rather than being way the heck down here. So every time you save and exit, you're going to spawn here, making Act 3 actually one of the fastest acts to actually travel through, which is super sick. That is what we changed for Act 3. On Act 4, a couple changes. Act 4 now has the private stash right here instead of way back here. And Cain, as you noticed, is missing. So Cain now is actually socializing, and people are staying a while and listening next to him. So really nice for like buying and selling items. You can ID things here and there. If you have a ton of stuff in the cube, you can just bam, Cain, there you go, sell it, good to go. So Act 4 is much easier, everything else is the same, spawn location, TP is the same. And then in Act 5, we did a couple changes here as well, where now instead of the stash being here, the stash is actually here. So much more convenient for after you go through your portal here. And say you're doing like Pendle runs or something, or want to sell, like after a run, you can go to Cain, and you can either go here, down here to Anya to sell, or you could go down here to Larzik to sell, and then repair. And even then, like, because he was way over by Qualkek before, we also moved Qualkek to no longer hide behind the torch like he did in the past. Like, he was hide behind the torch and he didn't know where he was. So he's now going to be hanging out around here instead. So yeah, it's much better there, and yeah, the stash being here, Cain being here, just a lot more quality of life for your farming needs. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Now, with all that being said, there are other things that we changed. We're just going to minimize this. Buffed crafting greatly. We buffed many uniques and set items. We nerfed rune XP, unfortunately, because it was 3% per rune ist plus, and this is mainly This mainly has to do with a bug with death penalty that was happening at higher levels. We did have to decrease the death penalty back to the 10% for all difficulties. So every difficulty you will lose 10%, normal, nightmare, and hell. That was changed. There's just weird bug that happened with overflow and numbers with death. So we nerfed the XP a little bit. You still get 1% XP, which is actually really, really good. Amazon bows skills no longer consume arrow quantity or bolts as well. That's included with bolts. And as I've talked about before, we have stacking and recipes with that and stuff like that. But let's jump into the item changes here with uniques, crafts, and set items. So we have items here. We got uniques. Okay, so Cranium Basher is now 60 IAS, amp damage, repairs durability. And what the repairs durability does on every single one of these things is it makes it so it can spawn ethereal and it'll repair durability. So anything that is indestructible will either always drop ethereal or never drop ethereal on uniques. So that's something to note. A lot of the overarching things about the unique changes and these changes is I'm mostly just changing the ones that are extremely rare or very rare, and you would think it's like, okay, this is a rare item, I think I should get something for it or out of it. In addition to that, we have Mang's Song, which now has 80 FCR, 85 FCR, 6 skills, and 20 and 25 pierce, 40 to 50 res, and 40 maximum mana. So it's kind of similar to the Obsession, but Obsession got nothing on Mang's. Mang's is juicy, man. Mang's is juicy. So, but we're trying to continue the theme of the item name or some of the stats that were on it already. So execution is justice. You would think execution. So we got 50% deadly strike, crushing blow, and now decrep on striking instead of on kill. Steel carapace, you would think of that as like an insane amount of tanking, and that's what we did here. So we got 30 to 40 damage reduction with 2 sockets and steel carapace. Extremely tanky armor. Extremely tanky. Does require a lot of strength to wear, but a lot of tank. Templar's Might basically just got some stat buffs. So we have offensive auras. It used to be, was it 1 to 2, I think, or something like that? It was bad, and now it's 4 to 6. So Templar's Might's kind of cool. And then we have 20 to 30 vitality when it was 10 to 15 before. Imperial's Might. This thing's the rarest item in the freaking game. This thing should do amazing things. So we're going to give it +1 to teleport, 45 fast run walk, and similar to what PD2 has, so big shout out here, some of these item changes were inspired by PD2. I did quite literally reference some of their things, so thank you also to PD2. But yeah, damage to demons, damage to undead, and then of course you can corrupt it if you have the balls to do that. So removed slain monsters rest in peace. I did that just because sometimes you're playing a build that you don't want to do this, and if you want to do this, you can wear Nature's Peace. Shadow Dancers, I buffed it to have 1 to 2 to all assassin skill trees. Assassins can't benefit from the pierce or anything like that with the traps, so I decided to add more skills, and Shadow Dancers making it the best in slot for an assassin. It's very heavy boots, Myrmidon Greaves, but they're super rare, and they should be really, really good. So that's what I did there. Water Walks, 40 fast run walk. Ghost Flame, this thing was all over the place, so now what it does is I removed Ignore Target's Defense, Enhanced Damage, and Mana Steal, and now instead we have 4 skills, 30 FCR, and Pierce with more fire. So we kept the fire theme, but we made it like better than a Hodo for fire builds and anybody else that wants to play fire. So it's really, really good for fire. Steel Rends, a 70 to 100 ED with Deadly Strike and 15 Crushing Blow. Got minus requirements as well, so Steel Rends is best in slot for a lot of melee and attack builds unless you want Laying of Hands. I did nerf Laying of Hands. We'll get over to that in a little bit because it was 350 damage to demons, which in comparison, 100 ED versus 350, at least if you're fighting demons, which are most of the monsters anyways, not that great. So I nerfed it and I buffed this. Earth Shifter now has 60% increased attack speed and faster cast rate instead it was 10-10. And then level 28 Fissure instead of level 14 Fissure that it was before. That is on striking, I believe. I forgot to mention that, but Schaefer's Hammer now has level 20 static field when it was level 10, I think, before. We buffed the ED by 100 on Schaefer's Hammer. What I could probably do in the future is have a was this number and then all that, but in the meantime you guys can just reference it and look at the items yourself. Then we have 60 IES on Schaefer's because it really hurts that you don't have IES. Like this item base, the legendary mallet, has a very slow attack speed. So we buffed the attack speed here. It's still going to be slower, but it's going to be really good still. So then we have Stone Crusher, of course, which is already actually insane for this mod with the buffs that we've done to melee in the past, and we just added 20 IES for that. Skill Shade is now basically the same thing as it is in PD2, where it gives 2 skills, faster block and increased block, so it's a blocking helmet. Gargoyle's Bite now is a poison, it's like a poison jab thing that you can use, and it gives 3 to 4 for Plague Jab and 3 to 4 for Poison Jab. And the ED rolls pretty heavily with a bunch of Pierce here. Stormlash we buffed slightly, it's level 20 static for more range. Oculus now is 5% chance to cast Teleport. I didn't want to remove it straight up because it's part of, you know, the game. I want this to still be like D2. Yes, it is annoying sometimes, but it's D2 still. So I nerfed it, I made it a lot better. It was 25%, now it's 5%. So, then we made Stormspire actually good. This thing is basically like an infinity, but like also for poison. So what you can do now is throw that on a mercenary or whatever, and it'll spawn level 10 lore resist on striking, 30%, which is I think like 60-ish% pierce, or 60% lore resist. And then now it's got a small ED buff by 50%. We added we buffed the strength, added bonus attack rating and lifesteal for the mercenary and stuff like that. Demon Horn's Edge. We have 3 to 4 war cries, combat skills, and masteries, so kind of the same thing. We buffed it to 20 IES, and then I added damage to demons because it's called Demon Horns. So I added 100 to 150 damage to demons, and this is also because we nerfed Laying of Hands. So barbarians are kind of still the same damage output if you end up going Demon Horns. It depends on your setup and all that stuff. Wolf Howl now has Fury. I don't know why it didn't have that before, but it does now. And then in addition to that, we have Halberdian's Reign. I think actually, if I remember correctly, I added O skill Wolves, because I think there was charges before, and now I think it's an O skill. I might not have written that down. Again, this is a huge patch that I came out with, and we're trying to break it down as much as we can. Hopefully I'll have timestamps for all this. Halberdian's Reign, 2 to 3 barb skills. It's got life per kill instead of replenish life, and then damage reduction. So 10 to 15 damage reduction. So it's actually pretty good for a barbarian. Astrians now rolls 3 to 4 combat skills. For this mod, Astrians is sick. So we didn't have to change much here, we just wanted a little bit less variation. Again, these are mostly the super rare items that I'm trying to change, or some things that are just like, I really felt like should have been changed. Headhunter's Glory is now 15 to 25 all res instead of the fire and poison. And then life per kill is buffed, and then we have fast run walk as well. Medusa's Gaze, for some reason it was lore resist before, but now we have 20% decrep when struck, and slow targets. So kind of going with that theme of turning monsters into stone, we're really trying to slow everything down as much as possible. Spirit Ward, 2 to class skill. So just like PD2, it'll be +2 to one of the random classes. So it'd be Sorceress, Paladin, Druid, etc. Then we have 35% chance to cast Fade when struck, and then we added minus requirements so people can actually wear it. More things to compete with Spirit. Steel Pillar repairs durability, so it can now spawn Eth. Ondal's Wisdom, we buffed the crap out of this. I decided to make it have 85 FCR, so it's competitive with some, like, you know, two-hand, or with Spirit and, like, Wizard Spike or something like that. A combination like that. You're wearing the staff. You need to be able to move fast. There's a huge disadvantage. You don't have a shield. You can't even block. And then in addition to that, if you are crazy enough to use Ondals, you now get 50% experience gain, which is essentially wearing an XP shrine. So if you're crazy enough, that's an XP shrine. Azureth. It's now Holy Freeze instead of Sanctuary Aura, because Sanctuary kind of sucks. Maybe I'll fix it in the future, hopefully Blizzard will fix it, and then at that point we'll just adapt what they did. And it's also 2 skills. So, kind of cool. We got Grandfather, now could spawn Ethereal, and we buffed the ED from 150 to 250 to 200 to 300. The Frostwind now has +1 to Cold Mastery, which is kind of cool. This is O skill Cold Mastery, so if you have a Frostwind, it will work on any character if you're trying to get Cold Mastery going. So that's kind of cool. So maybe like Azureth plus Frostwind combo, or Doom or something like that. A lot of cool stuff. Doombringer can now be Ethereal. Bone Shade is now 30 FCR instead of 25. And we have a new best in slot for Dark Force Spawn. This thing, it used to roll 1 to 3 Curse, Summon, and Bone skills. But now it rolls 2 to 3. And then in addition to that, it has 50% Pierce, which I talked about before. Teeth now has Pierce. And Shotguns. And then in addition to that, it gives +5 to all these skills, making Bone skills actually good. Or potentially good. We'll see how it all plays out after time. I was gonna try to do a magic skill damage with Dark Force, but instead I decided to go with just buffing the skills. It's almost the same thing, and there's plenty of synergies, so if you go full bore into it, this should be a decent buff. Bone Flame now has 3 to 5 Vigor, so level 3 to 5 Vigor, and I removed the Fast Run Walk. So it's still pretty much the same. We got 50% Pierce. Homunculus has 50% Pierce if you end up going Teeth and stuff. Blood Raven's Charge has 3 to 5 bow skills now, and 30 increased attack speed. Dragon Scale has Fire Mastery, +1 to Fire Mastery, just like the Frostwind with the Cold Mastery. We have 30 faster cast rate with it as well for that Hydra's, so if you want to actually use Hydra you could, or even some form of Holy Fire Paladin, you could also do that too. Alma has 1 to Salvation, and in order to compete with the Phoenix, it rolls 1 to 300 ED, big range, so sometimes it could be good, sometimes it could be bad, and then we also buffed the attack rating. So these were the main things that were about this item, and then we offed the Salvation as well. So you could use Metal Grid on this or something on a different character and get a level 1 Salvation aura if you wanted to. Carry on Wind is a poison ring mostly, so I wanted to give poison length reduction, and I believe 175 poison length reduction is basically immune. I'm not 100%, someone can correct me on that. But there's 2 things that we did for poison length reduction. One for Safety Belt, rolls 75 to 100 poison length reduction, and Carry on Wind is 100 poison reduction. So possibly poison immune now. Poison Nova on striking. We have attack rating, similar to Ravenfrost, and then damage goes to mana. Nature's Peace is actually O skill Oak, now +5 to Oak, and open wounds. Wisp Projector now has O skill Heart of the Wolverine, and we removed the stupid charges. Atmos Scarab is now 10%, was 5%, and then also level 3 amp instead of 2. And Metal Grid is insane. This is a very, very cool item. We have 20 O skill. This is O skill, so everybody can use Metal Grid. 20 to Iron Golem, 20 to Summon Resist, and 20 to Golem Mastery. So your Golem's not going to just fall over immediately, it's actually going to have a chance. And it's O skill, so your plus skills are going to add to it. It is kind of crazy. So we'll see how this actually pans out with everybody. But if you want to run a Metal Grid, like, it's possible, it's doable. It's good, it's useful. So Seraph's Hymn got its damage doubled for demons and undead. Cerebus Bite is 3 to 4 shapeshifting now. Spirit Keeper is 3 to 4 summoning. And Fire Lizard's Talons are 2 to 3 martial arts. Wake of Fire, all of these, so Wake of Fire Inferno, and Death Sentry. So now it's like a fire build for fire traps. In addition to that, you can also play Phoenix Strike and get your Death Sentry as well. So there's a lot of Fire Lizards actually has some type of purpose now and does enough damage. Jade Talon is 3 to 4 Shadow Disciplines and Martial Arts skills. And then 1 to Dragonflight. I believe I also buffed it so it has 3 to Blade Shield as well. Oh wait, no, that's Shadow Killer, my bad. So this is Jade Talon, we also gave Dragonflight. Shadow Killer, we have 3 to 4 disciplines, and we have increased attack speed and then Blade Shield. I removed all the free stuff and changed it a little bit. It's still not the best, but it's like, it's better than it was, that's for sure. Arcane's Valor is always 2 skills and minus requirements. Also, guys, thank you for the feedback and stuff that you suggested. There's some stuff that I thought of, and it helped me think of more things to change and stuff like that, and everybody in chat who's been helping me out with feedback. Sets is much shorter, and crafting is a little bit extensive, but it's not as extensive as the uniques. So, let's get into sets real fast. BK, Sacred Charge. It was already good. The only problem was it had knockback, so you couldn't hit anything. And now it also spawns with 3 sockets. And BK Tribal Guardian used to be a mythical sword, and now it's a Colossus sword. You can have up to 6 sockets with corruptions, but now it spawns with 3 sockets as well. So, not terrible. Griswold's Armor always rolls 1 skill now to Paladin. Griswold's Helm is 25 all res. Ondil's Almighty, 2 to skills now. Habeck's Glory now has 40% faster cast rate on top of all the things it had before. Mavina's Armor, 1 to skills. Mavina's Gloves are now cannot be frozen. Natalia's Mark is now 2 skills. And of course, you can check this out yourself if you want to read all this stuff yourself with BTDiablo. And then Laying of Hands, like I said earlier, was nerfed. It used to be 350 damage to demons, but that was just like a little bit too much, especially with some of the buffs and things like that to the game. So Laying of Hands is now 150 to 200 damage to demons. Rite of Passage is now cannot be frozen. I really like this in PD2, so I implemented it in this mod. Elder's Armor can have 1 skill, and then Elder's Helm can have 1 to 2 skills, which is really interesting, so Elder might be actually good. This is Abi's Sword, I just made it 250 ED, and then Traying Set no longer turns you into Gull, which means it doesn't destroy your faster cast rate frames anymore. That was an issue that was happening in the past. Something a little minor here, just because I'm noticing it, is we added 1 to 3 life after kill on jewels. That was a nice little change. And then crafting, we also made a change. So any base crafting, including Eth items and up to before, this was also a thing. Now, here's what crafting gets you. As you can see, it's not as big as it was. We have hit recovery, we have attack rating, that's the general theme here. So we got helms get 20 FCR, 10 on boots, target defense on gloves, and belt with FHR. Blocking and block chance with the shields, armor and enhanced damage on the so hit recovery and enhanced damage on the armor. We have attack rating and FHR on the amulet. Rings do maximum damage and dexterity as well. The hit power weapon, I guess I didn't paste it in there, but the hit power weapon is very much like the weapon here with 50 to 80 ED. I guess I'll have to paste that in. But the weapon is 50 to 80 ED. It's got the Frost Nova when struck, and then it also has minus target defense. I believe minus 15 to minus 20. So my bad, guess I forgot that one. Again, I wrote all this myself. Then we have Blood Crafts. I buffed the life, now it's 30 to 40, and then some of the bigger pieces like shield and armor is now 50 to 60. I buffed the life steal. It used to be like 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, and now it's 2 to 4 on a lot of things. And then weapons is 3 to 6. Then we have life per kill on the body armor, on the boots. We got faster run walk on the amulet, that's always 10 now. Stuff like that. So I was doing some theory crafting, and technically now with this mod and some of the changes to rares and things like that, you can get an item with 930 ED if you 6-socket, if you put 6 ohms in there, and like you roll perfect everything. So it is possible if it gets 6 sockets with the crafting and things like that. So good luck with that. It's probably never going to happen, but just throwing that out there as it's possible. So we might be seeing some big boy damage. Casting, I really like some of these changes. I made it so you actually are casting oriented. So we gave boots maximum mana. We have faster cast rate on helms, gloves, belts, body, and shield, as well as the weapon. So similar to PD2 here, we have 1 skill and 10 and 20 faster cast rate. And the reason why, or one reason I like this so much is because before you could craft belts with faster cast rate, but it was always 5 to 10. Very unreliable, and I really wanted crafting to be more reliable. So some of these things roll, yes, but not everything is super, like, make or break. So that's that. And then we have the safety, which is now MDR and PDR and everything, 3 to 5. And then in addition to that, we have buffed the enhanced defense. We buffed the resistances on things. For the belt, like I was talking about earlier, we gave it, instead of poison resist, we gave it poison length reduction. So to help with that potential poison immunity, I haven't tested it out yet, but I think it'll potentially work. And if it doesn't, it'll at least make it a lot more bearable to deal with poison. Shields and body gives 5 to 10 damage reduction, half freeze duration. Shields give magic resist, which is the only item in the game that gives magic resist. Amulets, always block chance. It was 1 to 10 before, and now it's always 10. They also give ED now, which is interesting for the rest of your build. And then the weapon, I didn't want to just copy some of the other things, so this one gives IAS, but less ED. So if you want IAS, but at the sacrifice of some ED, well, now you have the safety craft for that. And that is pretty much it for this patch. I did some minor things, like the MF potion is now 750k. We talked about how the XP penalty is different and things like that, but overall, we did bug fixes and things like that, but this is the biggest patch I have had ever. And I love the changes to the town locations. This is so good, and I can't wait to blast and farm and farm and farm. But let me know what you guys think. Much love. Thank you all for watching. If you watched all the way through to this point, you are a trooper, and you can type +++ in the comments to let me know that you actually listened to the whole thing. You are a mad lad. And I'll give you a favorite if you did. Anyways, much love. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe. You're all beasts.